Okay, so it is 1:02 Eastern, so we are going to get going. First and foremost, thank you all for attending. This is the third day of our website crash course, and so we're super excited to be ending this really awesome educational week. So thank you for taking the time out of your day to be here. So we'll be talking about SEO today. Let me go ahead and introduce myself. So my name is Carmen Bojack. I am the marketing associate over at Good Shuffle Pro. We are an event rental software company, and we serve all of North America. I have the amazing pleasure of working with Karen, our VP of Growth, who actually presented on Tuesday if you were attending that session. I'm really excited to talk to you all today about SEO and the amazing things that it can do for your business. So again, thanks so much for joining. We're really excited to have you. So before we begin, I also know that some of you might feel as if you have a really good grasp on SEO and again, what it can do for your business, but some of you might not even be sure what the acronym means, and that is okay. We're here to just break it down, make it digestible so that you can leave here today with an action plan going forward. So what am I going to be talking about today? So first of all, what is SEO and how does it affect my business? Then we'll be leading into the two different components, both on-page SEO, which includes actions that you take directly on your website, and off-page SEO, which are things that you actually do away from your own site to have an impact. And finally, we'll be talking about what you should avoid, my personal favorite SEO tools, and a Q&A. So just so you know, we will be sending out the recording of this webinar as well as the webinars from earlier this week in an email going out by the end of the week. So be prepared for those. And if you have any questions, feel free to send them in the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen, and we'll be answering those at the end. So to dive into it, what is SEO and why should you care? Essentially, SEO is whether people can find your website on the internet or not, or if it's just getting lost in a sea of competitors. The search engine results page is just the term for what pops up when you type something into the Google search bar. Your goal with SEO is to be the first result that shows up when someone types in a certain word, such as best wedding rentals or giant inflatables near me. So my definition of SEO is search engine optimization. These are the strategies that you use to increase both the quantity and the quality of traffic to your website through organic search. So if we break this down, the quantity of traffic is essentially you want more visitors to your website. You want more people coming to see what you have to offer. However, the quality of traffic is also really important. More is only better if the visitors are qualified, meaning that they're going to turn into paying customers. So this quantity and the quality needs to go hand in hand. Finally, we have organic search. So this is any traffic that you don't have to pay for, meaning that it's not an ad at the top of the results page. You know if something's an ad when you type something into the Google search bar and the first few entries have the little text in front of it that says ad. You know that someone paid for their spot there. However, SEO is the practice of earning your spot. Ultimately, SEO is important because it brings in new qualified leads to your business, and that's huge. You're also going to stand out from competitors, especially if you're ranking number one for a spot that is highly coveted that your competitors want to rank for. So you're making your way to the top of the food chain, essentially. And finally, it's really cost effective because SEO targets users who are actively searching for a solution to a problem that you can solve. It's part of an inbound marketing strategy, meaning that customers are coming to you as opposed to you going through them in a process, something like cold calling, for instance. Instead, they're coming to you. So the benefits of SEO, there's a whole lot. If you think about it, when was the last time that you went to the second or the third or the fourth page of Google? Maybe you have once or twice, but the answer is probably not recently. So it's really important for you to rank on that very first page in the numbers 1 through 10 spot. This is because when people see your site, on the very first page, they're automatically more inclined to trust you, which is a really good thing. You want your customers to know that you can dish out on whatever product or promise that that you have on your website. In general, a higher percentage of users also click on organic results compared to ads, meaning that sometimes people just glaze right over those first few entries that have ad next to it because they don't want to be sold. They're looking to, check you out and see if that's something they might be interested in, but really what you're doing is solving a problem for them. The ROI is also high, as studies show that most people search something online before they're making a purchase. Tons of customers are on the internet, and so it's really important to be able to make your mark in as many places as you can. ROI is also measurable, especially the ROI of SEO is also very measurable, especially when you're using tools like Google Analytics or HubSpot or something like Moz, which we will cover later. But you can measure where your leads are coming from, as well as which ones actually end up becoming customers. SEO is also constantly evolving. It's not just something that's one and done. You have to continually work at it, you continually test, and this opens up the doors for opportunities for improvement and ultimately a lot of business growth. Finally, my favorite part about SEO is that anyone can do it. There's so many great resources online, plus a lot of the tools are free, so that's always a plus. And you're already here on this webinar, which is fantastic. So let's get into the two components of SEO. First, we have the on-page SEO, which is, again, actions that you can take directly on your website. So this includes things like the formatting and the layout. How many pictures do you have? Do you have a title? What kind of words are you using? Then we have the content, which is, again, the language, the type of text on your pages, or maybe you have a blog that you run. Then we have the technical side, and don't let that intimidate you. The technical side really includes things like, how fast is my website? And are there any broken links? Things like that. Finally, we get into the off-page SEO, which typically people think of backlinks when they think of this. Again, off-page SEO is anything that you do off your website that has an impact on your, again, SEO game. Backlinks are created when another website links to yours, but social media also has an effect, although it's probably not in the way that you think. So stick around to learn more about that. So diving in to our on-page SEO. Again, any actions that you take on your site. So first and foremost, we have keywords. So what are your clients searching to find you? What are they typing into Google when they need something? And what do you want to rank for? Again, it's not just the keywords that you think are important, but it's the keywords that your customers think are important. And this should always be backed by data. Like Karen, our VP of Growth, brought up on Tuesday, she knew an event planner who was using the term conductor to describe what he did. And while this was true, he's conducting his business, and it's creative, it's a very fun term, it's not what his target audience was searching for, unless, they were planning a wedding or something with classical music. He didn't fit in with that event planner thought that people were having. So if it's not what your target market is searching for, then it's not what you should be aiming for. When someone lands on your website, they should also immediately know what you do. So you should have text that explains what you do, who you are, and where you're based, what areas you serve. So for instance, if you are an event company in DC, maybe you would have DC-based event company or event business serving the DMV. However you want to phrase it, you need to let people know what you're doing. However, this is also important not just for the user and the person visiting your site, but for the search engine bots who crawl your website. And now these little guys, they're testing to see like where should we categorize this person? Like how should we rank them when someone Googles something? So it's really important for you to put terms on your website like event rentals or custom design and decor, because then the search engine bots know how they should show you to people who are browsing the web. So you should be telling the search engines what you want to be known for. You're in control of that. So as a takeaway, after this session, go and open your website if you have one and look at your home page. Do you see a city or a region? Do you see the type of business you offer, or maybe the products and services you provide? For instance, Shivari chairs, rental inventory, brand activations, whatever you want to rank for, test and see if that's there. If not, then this is a really easy first step for boosting your SEO. So getting into choosing the right platform. What platform should you build your website on for maximum SEO benefits? Now, this is a bit of a trick question, especially because there's not necessarily a right or a wrong answer. It's really about what fits your business's needs and your budget. We at Good Shuffle use WordPress, and we love it because they have a lot of great SEO plugins, specifically Yoast, which is what we use. It gives us a lot of control over our SEO and how we prepare our strategy moving forward. But other sites like Squarespace also do a great job of providing you with a lot of these various SEO tools. So as a final recommendation, I would say to do your research and, if possible, talk to others in your industry. See what they're doing. So getting into it, what rules should your website layout follow? How should you be formatting things? Let's start from the top with the titles. So here I'm using HubSpot, a CRM system, as an example. When it comes to titles, there are two to consider, your H1 and your title tag. H1 is just a fancy term for what you think of when you think of a title. It's the title on the top of the page. The title tag, on the other hand, is what shows up on the tab on the top of your browser. So if you're like me and you have a bunch of tabs open all the time, the title tag is what helps you stay organized and find what you're looking for. You should only ever have one H1 title on your page, again, that title in the middle, because this is what tells both your visitors and Google's bots what the page is about. So for instance, in this explanation or in this example on the page, you see that HubSpot's H1 title is all-in-one inbound marketing software. And you see that their title tag says marketing software. So you can probably guess what they're trying to rank for. So as a takeaway, make sure that you're always including these top keywords that you want to rank for in your title tag and in your H1. Moving on to headers. So sometimes these are slightly confused with the title, but the headers are actually what come below, and they end up breaking up the page and acting like a table of contents for both the visitors and the bots. It's really helpful for the user experience so that you kind of know what you're reading, but again, it also lets Google know the summary of whatever the piece of content is. They're also a really great spot for your keywords. So again, when you go home and you're on your website, open it up, scan it, look at your homepage, your products page, your blog if you have one, and see if you have these headers. And if you don't, go in and add some. And if you do, then are you including the keywords that you like to rank for? Moving on to the meta description, and it sounds a little intimidating, but I promise it's not. While it's not directly related to your SEO, it does improve your click-through rate when you show up on the search engine results page. So all paid search will show up first on the page. You can see the red arrow is pointing to an ad. However, what ranks below that is all organic. So both of the boxed words that you see on the screen are part of organic search. And these are what's called your meta description or your snippet. So you assign a meta description to any page that you create. And it's really easy to do on most website platforms. You just type something in. You want to make sure that you keep it short and sweet and that it includes your keywords, because that's what draws people in. You want to make the meta description something that they're going to want to click on, because you're trying to beat out all of the other links that have shown up on that results page. So again, as a takeaway, go through your website, see if you've added a meta description to these pages, and if not, go in and add some. And if you have, check to see if your keywords are there, if it's engaging and something that the user would like to see. Next, we have our alt text. So I thought I'd switch it up and add in something that everybody loves, a photo of an adorable dog. So here you can actually see that this dog, he's a Siberian Husky, he's adorable. But that the alt text, when we open up the image, it says Siberian Husky cute puppies. So alternative text was originally created to make the internet accessible. Visually impaired users would use their screen readers, and those screen readers would read out this alternative text. Just makes it so that everyone can see your website, which is the best option for you. And if a file can't be loaded, then the alt text is what appears instead. Alt text provides context for search engine crawlers as well. So again, it's really important to be descriptive so that it's accurate for the screen readers, but also it's a great opportunity to showcase some of your keywords. So here you can see that when I Google cute puppies, the Siberian Husky shows up. And then when we inspect the image, we see that the alt text is Siberian Husky cute puppies. First, it tells the visitor and the search engine what it is, a Siberian Husky. And then it includes this keyword phrase, cute puppies. So of course they're gonna rank number 1. It's really important to be descriptive, but you shouldn't keyword stuff, which is when you put in cute puppies, adorable dogs, puppies on my feed, things like that, where it doesn't sound as natural. Google will actually dock you points for that. So you want to make sure that you're finding that balance. So again, when you're performing your site audit, make sure that your images on your website have this alt text. And if they do, are they including your keywords? Are they accurate? Make sure to check those out. And it's a really easy fix if they're not. Finally, we have internal links. So an internal link is any link on your website that leads to another page also on your website. Helps with user navigation and also will help the Google bots crawl your pages. So if we continue with this dog example, you can see that the article, the original article that I had has a hyperlink to another page on the same website where it goes more in depth into the Siberian Husky. So again, this is a great way for the user to learn more if they're interested, and for Google to understand what the website's about. For a more relevant example, if you're talking about the awesome inventory that you have on your homepage of your event company website, then you want to make sure that you include a link to this gallery or your collection. So again, as a takeaway, make sure that you're adding any internal links that make sense and provide context so that the user and the search engine crawlers are happy. Now we're going to move on to content since you've got the formatting down. It's really time to focus on this content portion, especially if you haven't started creating anything yet. And if you haven't, that's okay. Don't worry about it. Now's a great time to dip your toes into the water when it comes to content creation. So we're really excited to share with you just the basic cycle, especially when it comes to blog posts. However, content can also refer to the content that you have on your web pages. So this will apply to you no matter what. Content should essentially solve a problem, engage the reader, and offer something new. And it's also a really great spot to include your keywords. So first of all, you want to be identifying a problem. What are people asking? And mainly, what are your top leads asking? Think of it like a search query. What would your target market Google? Here you can see that 2 of our blog posts from Good Shuffle Pro rank for a query about marketing event rental inventory. We love providing helpful educational content to event professionals who are looking to, improve their business. And so we want to target words that people who would find our information helpful are searching. To figure out what your target market is asking, you can use a free tool like Google Search Console or Google Keyword Planner to figure out what are they searching, how many people are searching this per month. And at the end of the day, you're an expert in the field. You've got a lot of experience and you know what you're talking about. So people want to get to know or get to hear what you have to say. Next, again, you want to be choosing your relevant keywords. So you can decide whether you want to go for a shorter, more general phrase, something like event rentals, but that's usually a little more difficult to rank for, or for a longer, more specific phrase. So maybe boutique vintage rentals in Dallas, Texas. Now that's longer, Again, more specific, so it'll reach fewer people, but it might be a more accurate niche target. So whatever you're trying to go for, just make sure you have something in mind. Make sure that you're building your content around your chosen keyword, but again, be careful not to keyword stuff. You can see here in a screenshot of our Yoast analysis from our WordPress site. Again, this is a plugin that we're using. We can choose a keyword that our readers are likely to search. Again, this is really helpful when we want to get our content out to people who really want to read it. Ultimately, your keyword should appear in the URL, in your titles, in your headers, in your alt text, everything that we covered. When you rank high for one keyword, however, you're naturally going to rank highly for other keywords as well. So for instance, if you're going for event rentals, you'll probably rank high for party rentals, rental inventory, things like that. Just because you will be breaking up your text and not saying event rentals every other sentence. No one wants to read something like that. Again, you can find these keywords through things like Google Search Console, Moz, and something called Google Autofill. So what that is, it sounds intense, but I'm sure everyone here has used it. When you're typing into Google something like, how do I, and a bunch of options come up, that's the autofill feature. So if you start typing in the box, you're going to see a bunch of different options come up, and you can see, maybe this is being suggested because a lot of other people are searching for it. So after this, go on Google and type in your city and your industry. So for instance, DC tent rentals. See who's ranking on the first page. And then go to the second or the third pages and see who's ranking there. Where are your competitors standing? And go onto their website, see like maybe what they're doing well, maybe where they could improve, and see if you can see which keywords they're trying to go for. You can come out on top by doing this mini competitor analysis and getting ideas for your own website. And I see that we already had one question. Where were the two Google tools, or what were the two Google tools to determine the target market? These are both free, Google Search Console and Google Keyword. Google Keyword Planner. I will be touching on these at the end as well. But thank you for your question, Jody. So as we continue with the content section, you've gotten it written. That's fantastic. You've chosen your keywords and you're ready to go. The next steps are going to be to format it using everything that we've already covered. You will also want to use bullet points or numbered lists. No one wants to read a huge paragraph of text, so make it easy for them and on the search engines. You're also going to want to promote your content on in your email marketing and on your social channels. Social media channels are very easy to create. You can update them as often as you want. They're best practices online, but you want to get your content out where people are going to see it. Finally, you're also going to want to make sure that you monitor the traffic to these posts and see how they're doing. Maybe one of them is getting a ton of traffic. Can you emulate that on another one? You also want to make sure that you constantly update them. So at both your blog posts, if you're writing them, and just your website. You want to make sure that information like a name change of a company or something isn't left out, or that there aren't any broken links. You can use a software like Moz. Again, I'll be touching on that later, but it'll alert you whenever any of these things come up so that you can change them. Or like Christy said yesterday at the UX session, you can just go in, perform a site audit, click on all of your links, check out all of the information, and make sure you're good to go. So now we're getting into the technical side of things. You've got the formatting down and the content down, which is fantastic. So again, I promise you it's not as intimidating as it sounds. First, something that I'm sure all of you have heard of is optimizing for the device type. As you all know, more and more users are viewing information from their mobile devices and their tablets. So it's really important to have this responsive web design. Basically, the website looks the same on your desktop or your mobile, or it's very usable. You don't want to go on a website on your desktop. It works great. Then you go to your phone and you can't read the text because it's too small or things are too hard to click. You want to make sure that it's a good experience, again, for the user and also for the search engines. It's really important to have this responsive web design so that everyone has a seamless experience and wants to visit your site. Then we have the page load speed. So this is kind of a scary little statistic, so keep this in your mind. Most users won't wait longer than 3 seconds for a web page to load, especially if they're on their phone. So that means that your page has to be fast and grab users' attention within that time span, or they're probably going to leave and they almost certainly won't come back. You can test your web page load speed with Google's Page Speed Insights. Again, a free tool online. You just type in your website domain and it'll perform the analysis for you. Again, I'll be sending that at the end of the discussion. But for some of the recommendations made, you might need a developer's assistance, so just be aware of that. But it's a great tool to get you started and on the right track. Now we are moving on to the URL and slug optimization. And so you might be thinking, what is a slug other than the little creature in my garden? So the slug is the part of the URL that comes after www.mywebsite.com. So you can see here in this example that HubSpot slug is /marketing/customer marketing. And I think you can kind of tell what they're trying to rank for here. Marketing, specifically customer marketing. So the slug usually shows a hierarchy or just gives a short idea of what the page is about, and you know what you can expect. Again, you as in the user, but also the search engine. You should make sure that you're including your target keyword in the slug so that it's in the URL, and make sure that it's short and descriptive. So when you're performing your site audit, go out and check all the slugs on your website. You want to make sure, again, that they're short, descriptive, they tell the user what it is. However, you do want creating a broken link. So you can usually set up a redirect with that, and it's easy to do. Can't go into how to do it here, but there's a lot of sources on the internet. And if you ever need help, a developer is a fantastic person to turn to. Finally, we have, you want your website to get found, first and foremost. Crawling and indexing, I know that sounds, again, a little intimidating, but it's really not. All this work that you've done, you've gotten your formatting and your content, you're so excited to get your website out there for people to see, but if Google isn't crawling it, then there's no chance that people are gonna see you, and you don't want your work to all be for nothing. So when a website is crawled, that just means that Google can see it. That's all it means. However, if it's indexed, it means that Google is deciding to promote it and to put it on the website or on the search engine results page. So in general, you will almost always want every single page on your website to be indexed. However, like an example of one that maybe wouldn't be indexed would be a thank you page after someone submits a form or an order on your website. And you wouldn't want this to show up in the search because they didn't make the purchase. That's only supposed to come up if you do an action previously. So in general, again, you will want your pages to be indexed, but some you won't. It's really easy to see which of your pages are being indexed. You just type in the page that you want to check out onto Google Search Console. That's what this screenshot is here. And you can see that the URL that I had typed in, it's on Google, it's good to go. I love seeing all those green check marks. So again, great thing to keep in mind, and it's very easy to do on your own. Next, we're going to move on to the off-page SEO. You got the on-page SEO down, which is fantastic, so good job. This strategy mostly consists of generating backlinks from other sites to boost your credibility. However, like I said, it also does include some social media. So when another site links to yours, aka a backlink, Google sees that as a vote for you. Awesome. But how do you get them? The first step is to generate linkable content. And so by this, I just mean that content that people find interesting and want to link to. So the screenshot here shows another website where someone put forward this question, wanted responses, and Karen, our VP of growth, she went in, answered it as a comment, and then they linked it back to a blog post of ours. You can see that marketing strategies is a hyperlink. And so that's fantastic. Then if you look at Moz, our SEO tool, the screenshot at the bottom, you can see that the spam score of this website is really low at 1%. And the domain authority, which is just how credible a website is on a scale of 1 to 100, is at 85, which is really high, meaning that this is a really good backlink for us. Now, if you're just creating a basic blog, that's fine. Content creation can take many forms. Blogging is one of the best because it's short, it's a great place for keywords, and people love to link to it. So just keep that in mind. A few good blog posts can take you far, so don't feel like you have to be pushing out 1 million a week. That's not the case. Just try your hand at maybe writing 1 or 2. Next, you're going to want to determine where your target market is. You want to write for websites that your target clients visit. So, for instance, for us, we're part of NACE, and we love working with NACE, which is the National Association of Catering and Events. We write a lot of guest blog posts for them because we have a lot of insight into things that their audience will find useful. And so it's a really great partnership and something that we love to do. Again, it doesn't really do any good to have a blog with a lot of views if none of them are qualified leads, if they're not interested in what you have to say. No one who's not in the event rental industry, they don't want to hear about the event rental industry sometimes. So it's just really good to know who your audience is and what they want to hear. You also want to make sure that these websites are credible again, so they're not likely to be seen as spam. You want to make sure that they're legitimate. You can also figure out where your clients are consuming this information by sending out a survey, including a field on a form, scouting out where your competitors are posting things, and just doing general industry research. Finally, you want to build relationships with site owners. So reach out to organizations that you sponsor or have membership to, provide value, and show that you're interested in their work. You can even offer to write a guest blog post. We love working with experts to share quality information that we know that our readers love. So that's always a really fun relationship to foster. And continue to follow up and build your rapport. So moving on to the social channels, like I said, so SEO is not directly impacted by socials. However, social media platforms and shares do have an indirect effect. So first of all, social media can increase your backlinks in the way that the more shares that your content gets on platforms like Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, the more likely it is to be seen and then linked to from another article. As you can see here, when you Google Good Shuffle Pro, our LinkedIn and our YouTube show up right on the very first page. So, social media is important. We want to make sure that we have a presence here because people will be clicking through there from the search engine results page. Also, YouTube is actually the second largest search engine after Google, which is crazy. So you want to make sure that, or if you can, have a presence there as well. You can see that when you Google party rental software or event rental software, we show up under 2 webinars that we've done with other partners, which is really cool. Many consumers also discover their brands or discover different brands on social media. Social media is a search engine in and of itself, like I said, with YouTube. So people do this mainly in ways of hashtags. So on Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, you can click on the hashtag eventprofs and see what's going on in the industry. What's the latest buzz? Some practices that you should be aware of definitely are duplicate content, broken links, and any backlinks that seem sort of spammy or not credible. Again, an SEO tool like Moz will warn you when you have any of these issues so that you can take immediate corrective action. So to go into what duplicate content is, this is just when there are multiple pages on the internet with the same or really similar content. So some examples of this include having multiple pages for a tent, for the tents that you offer, and only changing the sizing, nothing else about the wording. Or maybe you have a blog post on your website and then you want to have a guest post on someone else's site and you just copy and paste that blog over there. The biggest issue with duplicate content is that whichever page Google deems the best is what will show up. While it won't necessarily destroy your SEO, you ultimately want your post ranking there instead of someone else's. So it's really good to make sure that duplicate content is at a very, very low minimum. You also don't want just any backlinks, like I was saying. You want to make sure that the domain authority is high if possible and that these sites just appear credible. You want to make sure that they're relevant to your industry as well. And if you notice a backlink with a really high spam score, again, through an SEO tool like Moz, then feel free to reach out to the people at the site and say, hey, can you take that down for me? Much easier than one would think. So as in conclusion, some action items and next steps. I know I dropped some along the way, but in general, perform a site audit. See if there's any duplicate content, any broken links, any outdated information. Is your formatting in place? Do you have images? Do these have alt text? Things like that. Little things that when you put them all together will really make a big difference for your site. You can also start and develop a basic content strategy. So what that means is, again, if you already have a blog, great. Maybe changing, maybe deciding to post instead of every 2 weeks, every 1 week, or maybe deciding to start on your guest blog post objective. Or if you don't have a blog, you could consider starting one, or just focus on the content on your web pages that you have already. Can you add more text on an About Us page, or can you describe your inventory or your mission a little bit more in detail? Things like that, that anybody can do. Then you want to test your website's technical health with those free tools from Google. Again, they'll be sent out after this. And then finally, if you're really in it to win it, you can invest in SEO tools to really help you grow your business. So again, we'll be diving into exactly what these tools are right now. So again, my favorite is Moz. I think it's very conducive. It has a lot of very comprehensive, and has a lot of really great things like links and keywords, and it alerts you again of the broken links. Anything that you need to pay attention to is on Moz. However, it also has very similar platforms such as Ahrefs and SEMrush. So feel free to check those out too. You can also check out Google Search Console, Google's Keyword Planner, and Google's Page Speed Insights. So all three of these are from Google. They're free to use, and you can find them just, again, with a quick Google search. I also really like Yoast, which is, again, our plugin on WordPress that we use to optimize for SEO. So that brings me to the end of the presentation. Again, my name's Carmen Bojack. I work for Good Shuffle, and I'm so happy that I got to talk to you all today about SEO. If you have any questions, please feel free to send them in the chat or in the Q&A, and I can get to those now. So I see the question, can you use Yoast on Squarespace if not on WordPress? I actually don't know the answer to that because I've personally never used Squarespace. However, we can see if that's the case. I can do a quick search. So no, Squarespace does not have a Yoast SEO plugin. But again, I know there are other alternatives to Yoast on Squarespace. Definitely worth checking out. No problem. If anybody has any questions just in general about SEO or just things you can do on your website, again, feel free to send them in, or you can email me later and I can get back to you with an answer. I'm more than happy to do so. Thank you, Wanda. Okay, well, if nobody has any other questions, again, feel free to email me. And thank you so much for tuning in. Hope you all have a fantastic rest of your week.